Week 1 worth $0, Week 2 worth $0, Week 6 worth $1.49 million. Most finance videos won't tell you that. They treat every step like it matters equally. The math says otherwise. I'm going to show you exactly which 3 weeks built almost all of David's future wealth, and which 9 weeks were just necessary scaffolding. Because if you only have limited time and energy, you need to know where to actually put it. This is David. He makes $65,000 a year, has $5,000 in savings, carries $7,200 in credit card debt. Net worth right now, negative $2,200. In 90 days, 12 weeks, 1 move per week, David will completely reset his financial trajectory. Same person, same salary, same starting point, just 12 decisions, and 30 years from now, his net worth will be on track for over $1.4 million. Let's walk through every single step and what each one is actually worth in dollars. Week 1, the audit. David opens his laptop, pulls up the last 3 months of every account, bank, credit card, subscriptions, everything. He sorts every expense into 3 buckets: fixed, discretionary, and debt payments. What he finds: $340 on food delivery last month, $47 on subscriptions he forgot about, $280 in a miscellaneous bucket he'd never tracked. He didn't have a spending problem. He had an awareness problem. Now here's what most finance videos get wrong. They'll tell you this is the most important week of the whole plan. The math says otherwise. The audit on its own is worth $0. Awareness doesn't build wealth. What it does is make Week 2 possible. And Week 2 is worth real money. Week 2, the trim. David goes through every expense and asks one question: can I cut this 10 to 30% in the next 90 days? Rent? Hard to move. Skip. Insurance? He calls around. New carrier? Saves $90 a month. Subscriptions? Cancels due. Saves $25 a month. Food delivery? Cooks 3 nights a week instead. Saves $200 a month. Total freed up, $400 every month. Not by suffer. By cutting things he wasn't getting value from anyway. Now here's where the conventional advice gets it half right. You've heard it, a dollar saved is a dollar earned. That's wrong. A dollar saved and left in your checking account is just a dollar. Watch this. $400 a month in checking for 30 years, $144,000. That's just the sum of his deposits. The same $400 a month invested in the S&P 500 at the historical average? $596,000. Same trim, same effort. 4 times the result. The trim is only half the equation. The other half is Week 6. Week 3, automation. This is one of the most underrated weeks in the entire plan. David opens a high-yield savings account, currently paying 3.8 to 4%. On $10,000, that's $400 a year in interest just for moving your money. If your savings is sitting in a regular bank account paying 0.01%, you're leaving real money on the table. Then he sets up automatic transfers. Every payday, before he even sees the money, 5% moves to the HYS and 5% moves to the brokerage account he'll set up in Week 6. Studies show people who automate save roughly twice as much as people who manually decide each month. Twice, because every manual decision is a chance to not save, and life always finds a reason. Here's the real point. Without automation, the $400 from Week 2 leaks back into spending within 90 days. Lifestyle creep is fast and silent. Automation is what turns the trim into actual wealth. Without it, Week 2 is just theater. Week 4, the debt plan. David has $7,200 on a credit card at 24% April. He does 2 things. First, he calls Chase. 5 minutes. I've been a customer for years. I always pay on time. My rate is higher than what other cards are offering. Can you lower it? They drop him from 24% to 19%. Just like that. Most people never make this call. The worst they can say is no. That negotiation saves him $500. Second, he adds $75 a month to his minimum payment. That small addition cuts 8 months off his payoff timeline and saves him $1,400 in interest. 1 call and $75 a month, nearly $2,000 in savings. You'll hear people say, don't rush to pay off debt. Invest instead, the market returns more. That math is badly wrong. The S&P 500 averages 8 to 10%. Credit card April averages over 21%. Paying off a credit card is a guaranteed 21% return. No investment in the stock market comes close, and the market isn't even guaranteed. Week 5, $1,000 emergency fund. 59% of Americans cannot afford a $1,000 emergency. Think about that. The majority of the country is one car repair or one ER visit away from going into more debt. A $1,000 cushion covers more than 80% of the unexpected expenses Americans actually face. It's not a complete safety net, but it's the difference between handling a problem and putting it on a credit card. David hits $1,000 in 11 days. He sells an old laptop and a guitar he doesn't play. Combined with the Week 2 savings now flowing into the HYSA, he crosses the line fast. Eventually, you want 3 to 6 months of expenses saved. But that's a marathon. The first $1,000 is the starting line. Week 6, start investing. The most important week. If you do one thing from this entire video, make it this week. David opens a brokerage account. Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, any major broker works. He buys an S&P 500 index fund. One purchase. That gives him ownership in 500 of the largest companies in America. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Berkshire Hathaway, every name you've ever heard of. No stock picking, no market timing. He just owns the whole thing. Then he sets up automatic monthly purchases, $400 a month tied to the Week 3 automation. Set it once, never touch it again. But before he does any of that, there's one move that beats everything else in personal finance. The 400-to-1 employer match. David's employer matches 4% of his salary. On $65,000, that's $2,600 a year, free money. An instant 100% return on every dollar he contributes up to the match. There is no other investment in the world that comes close. If your employer offers a match, capture every dollar of it before anything else, even before paying off the credit card. Now look at what compounding actually does. $100 a month for 30 years at 8% for $149,000 a month for 30 years, $745,000. $1,000 a month for 30 years, $1 million. For 30 years, $1 million. For 30 years, $1 million. For 10 years, $1 million. Per 10 years. The second 10 years feel okay. The last 10 years are where the magic actually happens. A 2.5 YEAROLD investing $200 a month ends up with more money at 65 than a 3.5 YEAROLD investing $400 a month. Same total dollars contributed. Just a different starting line. This is the week that builds the wealth. Every other week is either preparing for it or protecting it. Week 7, increase income. Cutting expenses has a floor. You can't cut below zero. But income has no ceiling. David hasn't had a raise in 18 months. So he does 3 things. Researches salary benchmarks on Glassdoor and LinkedIn, builds a one-page document listing his contributions, project shipped, revenue impact, extra responsibilities, and books a meeting with his manager. He asks for 10%. He gets 7%. That's $4,550 more per year. Most people stop thinking there. Here's where it actually goes. That 7% raise compounds across his entire career. On a higher base, growing at 3% a year, negotiated again every few years. That single bump is worth roughly $300,000 in additional lifetime earnings before he invests a single dollar of it. Now layer this on top. If David invests that $4,550 raise instead of absorbing it into his lifestyle, at 8% over 30 years, that one raise becomes $565,000. One conversation. One ask. $500,000. And if a raise isn't possible right now, switching jobs every 2 to 3 years typically delivers a 30 to 40% salary increase. There's no ceiling on this week. There is a hard ceiling on week 2. Weeks 8 through 12, protect and sustain. Week 8, write down a goal. David writes, by December 30 honest, I'll have $10,000 invested and 0 credit card debt. Then he texts it to his sister. Research from Dr. Gail Matthews at Dominican University shows people who write down goals and share them are 42% more likely to achieve them. 42% for something that takes 5 minutes. Week 9, credit cards. The card isn't the variable. Your discipline is. For a disciplined user, credit cards build credit history, earn 1 to 5% cash back, and can save tens of thousands over a lifetime. For an undisciplined user, they're a financial trap. David's test: use it for groceries only. Pay it off in full every single month for 3 months. If you can't pay it off, stop. Switch to debit. Revisit in a year. Week 10, track net worth. Everything you own minus everything you owe. David went from negative $2,200 to $4,800 in 10 weeks. Without tracking it, he wouldn't even know the plan was working. What gets measured gets managed. Week 11, re-audit. Pull the last 2 months of statements. Compare to week 2. David finds his food delivery crept from $40 back up to $120. He plugs the leak. Studies show discretionary spending returns to baseline within 90 days unless actively monitored. This week doesn't add new wealth. It protects the wealth the other weeks built. Week 12, long-term goals. David defines 1 YEAR, 5 YEAR, and 1 0 YEAR targets. Breaks each down to a monthly savings number. Sets 4 quarterly calendar reminders to review everything. The 90DA reset only works if it doesn't end at day 90. This week is the commitment device that keeps the system running for the next 30 years. Here's what David actually built in 90 days. Net worth: negative $2,200, positive $5,500, 30 YEA, our trajectory, $1.04 million. And here's the honest answer on which weeks actually did it. Week 6, investing in the S&P 500. Built roughly $1.49 million of his future wealth. Week 7, increasing income. Worth $565,000 from one raise alone, plus compounding career effects. Week 3, automation. The multiplier that made both of those weeks actually happen, instead of staying as good intentions. The other 9 weeks, necessary, but not where the wealth was built. You don't need to be perfect at every step. You need to be excellent at 3 of them and consistent on the rest. If this gave you something useful, drop the word compound in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe if you want more videos like this. I run the actual math on the financial decisions everyone talks about but nobody quantifies. See you in the next one.